For all of us out there who have been pushing back against the mass immigration establishment in Canada and calling for lower immigration rates in order to get control of jobs, housing, and a lot of other aspects of Canada that are deteriorating these days, we just won a moderate victory with federal Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre in a French interview saying that immigration rates will be much lower when he's the prime minister. I would like to see him repeat this in English, but this is good progress for our side of the conversation, wanting to mainstream the idea that a lot of things could be fixed if we stopped importing 1.2 million people into the country per year. It's not me or you saying that we can't bring in more immigrants, it's math saying that we can't bring it in. Plus, also, when we haven't actually been doing values testing or any means testing on people, we're bringing in people who either don't want to be here or they can't afford to be here, and we're effectively forcing them to live in half a basement suite with 3 or 4 other people to just drive around for Uber Eats during the day to barely afford rent. This is an unsustainable situation, and I'm happy that Pierre Poilievre said this, but here's the clip from television of Pierre Poilievre being interviewed on this and giving his answer.
Poilievre s'engagerait à des chiffres au moins là-dessus?
Oh, ça va être beaucoup plus bas, surtout pour l'immigration temporaire. C'est impossible d'inviter 1,2 million de personnes, nouvelles personnes au Canada chaque année lorsqu'on bâtit 200 000 logements. C'est impossible. Il n'y a pas de place. Le Québec est...
And this is actually a kind of funny point that's being made here. He says, there's no room. Quebec is at the breaking point. And that's funny because actually Quebec has been taking in the fewest number of immigrants in terms of per capita percentages because they actually have caps on how many immigrants coming into the country that they're willing to have settled in Quebec. So Quebec has actually been having it fairly easy. I guess the only places that have had it easier are places like Nunavut, Northwest Territories, and Yukon, where most people don't really want to move to. And so it's good that we actually are going to reduce the rate, especially with temporary foreign workers. I hate the stupid narrative that, oh, well, we need these temporary foreign workers because they're working jobs that Canadians don't want. Well, maybe Canadians don't want them because these jobs are artificially only paying minimum wage and you can't get a raise because it's so easy to hire a temporary foreign worker, especially when the government is giving businesses incentives to hire people who aren't Canadians. That is not a way of running a country, of favoring people who don't live here, who haven't paid taxes here, whose parents haven't paid taxes here, property tax, all the rest, and favoring the person who just arrived here, probably on what is effectively a scam visa for a fake university or for some job that doesn't actually exist. That happens all the time, and our system does not make up for it. The truly ironic thing is that I was removed from the CPC nomination in Calgary Signal Hill, and I had people saying, well, you probably were just too hardlined on wanting immigration reduced by 2/3. And then Sabrina Maddow in Aurora Oaks, Richmond Hill, was effectively pushed out of that nomination. She had suspended her campaign, but it was clearly, the fix was kind of in for her, so she dropped out. And we were both very hard-lined, we need to reduce immigration candidates. And so it's good to see that people are being proven wrong, that it wasn't because the Conservative Party was going to go soft on those things. Although that does prove in our situations with the nominations, there are backroom people who still want to stack the party with people who are loyal to them, even though they might not even agree with the agenda that Pierre Poilievre is articulating. This is the truly dangerous thing in nominations, but I'm not going to belabor that too much. If you want to get on my form for nomination recommendations around the country, you can go sign up at wyattclaypool.com. It's in the description below. But this is a big vote getter of an issue. Even the Liberals know it. That's why they're starting to lower the amount of student visas that are being handed out, because we were bringing in sometimes in a month 40,000, 60,000 students in just a single month. And now the Liberals have lowered it to only like 12,000, 14,000 coming into the country. Part of that is because students were realizing from overseas that a lot of the universities that they were being accepted to were effectively front groups set up by immigration lawyers just to get you into the country, but we're not actually going to provide a real education. And then so that's why the Liberals put the cap in place, because I think they already knew that the immigration rate or the student visa rate was already falling naturally. So they put the cap in place to make it seem like they're taking it seriously, when right before they did that, Mark Miller was coming out and making ridiculous statements about how Poilievre and the Conservatives were just not as pro-immigration as them because they were xenophobic. purely absurd, but it's good that we're doing this because 67% of the country, I think it's 68% of Canadians and 62% of foreign-born individuals are in favor of reducing immigration. I door knocked over 6,000 doors in my riding, and granted it is a more conservative riding, but I'd bump into permanent residents who were in favor of me reducing immigration by 2/3 if I could get that pushed through. It doesn't matter if you've lived here for multiple generations, your family's been here for multiple generations, or you just got to Canada 3 months ago. You know that you can't have this number of people coming into the country. Obviously, an individual who gets into the country recently will want to stay, but even they know, yeah, the flow of people in here is just ridiculous. And they realize that once they got hit the ground, they couldn't afford rent because they're having to compete for every single available unit for 80 other people with 80 other people who either just got here or they're trying to move out of their parents' basement and everything's completely unaffordable. Like a crap apartment in Calgary could cost you like $2,000 a month, can cost you like $1,500 a month for something that's basically a broom closet. There are houses in my riding in Calgary Signal Hill in the Sierra Marina area. It's in the southern part of the riding where foreign investors are buying up houses and then renting out each individual room, like guest bedrooms, couches even, for $500, $600 a month. And they're having sometimes 6, 8, 10 people stay in that one house, all basically collectively paying $5,000, $4,500 in rent a month. That is a crisis that you cannot build your way out of. That's Justin Trudeau's plan, the idea that, well, we're going to softly cap some stuff in the background, but then we can just build more houses through an acceleration fund, even though the acceleration fund is literally reducing the amount of houses being built every year because the accelerator money requires more federal bureaucracy to get it. It requires more federal inspections and all these other requirements you have to hit. And to even get the money from the federal government to build more houses, you then necessarily become a slower builder because you have to follow and jump through all of the new federal hoops that are being set up. That's why it doesn't matter how much money the Liberals offer. It doesn't matter what laws they force municipalities to change. House building has been going down by tens of thousands every year. I think this last year we only built like 220, 230,000 homes. And in the previous 2 years, we had built like 240,000, 250,000 homes. And it's going down despite the money going up because it wasn't a money issue. It was a government bureaucracy issue. And also, immigration rates are never going to be overcome, even if we doubled house building, which is impossible. You can't overcome that sort of a rate of population increase. We're a country that in 2019, I believe we had 37 million people who lived here. And now in the year 2024, we have 42 million people living here. That is not organic demand-based growth where people wanted to move here. They had a skill that Canada could use. That's why we want to bring them to the country. They knew a lot about oil and gas. They were an engineer. They're a computer programmer. That's how we used to do things. Now we're just basically saying there's a lot of benefits on the other side if you can get into this country. And even if that's a false promise, people are jumping at it and getting on planes and showing up here, assuming that it's going to be an easy life with tons of opportunities when it's not. Effectively, we're just tricking immigrants to show up here to work cheap jobs on behalf of corporations with government connections. But anyways, that's enough for me today. Enough of my rants. You guys can donate to my legal fund in the description below. It's the Give, Send, Go link down there if you guys want to help the legal defense fund because we're being sued by a Chinese billionaire for no particular reason. He's suing us for defamation and in 2.5 years has still not provided any evidence for how we have defamed him in any way. He's just throwing paperwork at us to try and hurt us. And then again, I urge you guys, if you want, to stay connected with me and have me recommend in your local areas if there's any good nomination candidates in your area, or if there's any ways you can get involved in local races and help out, make the country better, you can sign up onto that list. I might end up basically never emailing you because you're out in some riding where there's just not much of a local connection that I have and I don't know who to recommend, or, you live in Iqaluit and I don't know about your local politics. But you can go sign up there and I'll basically try and keep you guys in touch with what I'm doing, as well as with the ways that you can get involved to make the country more conservative, not simply by just telling you, go and work for the Conservative Party, but specific people you can back, specific initiatives you can jump on, and how even you could potentially run for office in the future yourself, which I will 100% help you out with if we happen to line up with our values, which if you like this show, I assume that's generally pretty accurate. But that's it for me today, guys. Have a good one.